Five, four, three, two, one. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of What the Shift. Mercury is in retrograde. I'm joking. Oh yeah, shift happens. See, Mercury's in retrograde. Have I said it? Well, I say it, but I always come back home to shift happens, I never stayed in what the shift for too long. Okay, shift happens. Okay, five, four. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Shift Happens. Today, we're going to be talking about some EV stuff. Another company out raised a big seed round trying to transform trucking. Also, some new Trump rules around speed limiters, and then we'll kind of, dive into a couple other things. I hope you guys have a good one with myself, Darren Williams.
Townsend, guys, welcome back.
Spectacular. Tao, not sure if you know, but Alicia let me know that Mercury's in retrograde today. So if anything that's strange is happening or good is happening, we may be able to just chalk it up as, Mercury's in retrograde. So how do you feel about Mercury being in retrograde?
I don't know, man. Whatever you guys feel, so I'm good. Do it.
Spectacular. Okay. So, we are gonna dive in here. We have this article coming from the Pulse here, Pulse 2.0. We've got Navoya raised 9.3 million, and they're gonna transform American trucking. Their whole goal here is to address the challenges of the logistics industry, trying to demonstrate that zero emission trucking is not only better for the environment, but more cost effective than traditional diesel engines, revolutionizing logistics through unmatched efficiency, strong focus on customer serving, major shippers and 3PLs. So it seems like they're also taking kind of like they're going EV, but they're also going like AI empowered TMS stuff. Like they're gonna be a full integrated kind of product there, if you will, from like EV truck all the way to the TMS, which I think is actually a little bit interesting. That's actually something that I didn't catch as I read through that thing the first time. But that's yeah, seems interesting. I also assume that like Tesla's gonna be doing something very similar when the time is right. Like they're not gonna allow someone to come in and yeah.
I mean, they're gonna try to dominate. Just like look at the cars with the electric cars, right? With Tesla has been number one for a long time. I know China is coming into the picture, but Tesla will definitely have something.
Yeah, spectacular. What are you thinking for, like, how does a company like this, I think, fit in your perspective? We had a interesting meeting with Tesla earlier this week, trying to test out one of their trucks on one of our local lanes. So just talk to us about how you think that went, what were things that stuck out to you, et cetera, et cetera.
I definitely think having look the United States, right? We're technology driven, right? So we're going to be in the forefront of innovation and making our lives easier, right? Just look at with AI and everything, right? So with the Tesla truck, I definitely think just look at the one thing that stick to me is that people don't realize is it's minus. Just look at the car. Let's just compare the car, right? Regular gasoline car versus electric car. How much maintenance do you even do?
On my Tesla, I changed the tires a lot more than I ever changed on any
Yes.
other car.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't think
There's a
anything ever
fluid
happened.
from windshield washer. And
Yeah, like
yeah, you'll probably change the tires because the car's heavier, obviously, right? So that's another point for the trucks, right? So minus that, trucks break it down going into the shop. I know the Tesla trucks have been breaking down a lot from by seeing what's happening on the road, but yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see, how much money can we even save there over, course of 5 years, right? And the truck is not even that expensive. It's, about $200,000, right? Which is, hey, for 500 miles. I, I think it's great. The weight is pretty light compared to other trucks, which was great to see. There's a 2,000 pound exemption. A lot of people might not know this. If you get an electric truck, you get a 2,000. I know it doesn't cover it. There's still a gap of a few more thousand pounds that you got to work with, right? But hey, I think they'll eventually get there too.
yeah, I think it's interesting what you brought up there like imagine the truck inflation that's gone on in the past couple years, right? Like you used to be able to buy a new diesel truck for, whatever the price was, but now it's like they're starting to inch up there closer to that, $200,000 range. And so if you have the chance to buy a new diesel, which is going to cost you, what's that going to cost, Tal, for a new, what do we like, the new Volvo sleeper, right? What is that going to cost versus the Tesla electric vehicle?
So it's interesting. The Volvos are a little bit expensive than like the Freightliners, International,
Uh-huh.
Peterbilts, and stuff like that, right? Um, they're close to about 200,000 as well. The last I checked, it was like 190, right? Because they rolled out with a new look, so that's a little bit more expensive. Like the Freightliners are like 175. So you can just compare like 180 to 200,000.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, so if that new Tesla Semi is going to be slightly over 200 grand, and you're going to get rebates in many ways to buy that truck. It's like actually going to be end up being maybe a little bit cheaper than getting that diesel after rebates and everything. And if the performance sticks, I think there's going to be a compelling case to be made for it. Like we talked about a little bit yesterday, I'm almost over talking about the EV versus diesel debate because it's like eventually we're gonna see, right? There's gonna be enough data, there's gonna be enough trucks on the road, and we're just gonna know. Right now, it's all conceptual and it's all, how people feel. And certainly for us internally, like I think we'll be able to get the pilot program going with Tesla so that we can kind of test it on our lanes and actually have data that'll suggest like, yeah, versus these trucks that typically run the lane, like this is kind of what we're seeing, right? But it's really becoming one of those things where it's like a buzzword, an industry buzzword thing that I'm kind of getting burned out on some level, But it is, I think it's important, and certainly this company, are taking their opportunity to like build a company that's going to be like full stack, right? From the EV all the way through to the TMS system. I think that's probably a smart thing. I also think that that's probably the way that trucks are going to be in the future. Like that's not probably going to be something that is special to them. I would assume that Tesla is going to have very good software inside of their trucks, right? That you can hook up and put things into. So, I think it'll be an interesting time.
100%. Tesla hasn't really rolled out their trucks. It's been what, for like 5 years they announced the truck. So it's
Uh-huh.
been 5 years. They're working to improve this technology. The only reason they
Yeah.
haven't let to the public is they know there's a lot of stuff they need to work on. So when they release it, I expect them to start releasing this truck in about 2 years' time, so from what I've seen, right? To the general public. Right now, I know when it rolled out, the deposit was like $5,000 to book a Tesla truck. Now it's like 20,000. I wonder how much it is now, but let me see. Yeah, $20,000 if you wanted to book one truck.
I mean, I'm here for it. Like I'm a pragmatic person. I want to use the best options. Like I don't have any spiritual relationship to anything. The only thing that matters to me is what's best to get the job done.
Yeah,
What's best for the drivers, right? What's best for like their quality of life. And if it's an electric vehicle, then it's going to be an electric vehicle. And I love electric vehicles. I've said this over and over. Like, I am fundamentally a fan of electric vehicles. I think they're the best cars that you could buy in the market. They're the most fun to drive. They are the safest. There's just like it's a spectacular experience. And I could only imagine like the interior of the cab of these semis being, just like look at this. I'm looking on the website right now. Scroll down. Oh, you're there. Look at that. That's spectacular. You think a driver's not gonna want to sit behind that and freaking hang out, right? And drive. And there's probably gonna be some amount of
entertainment.
not just entertainment, but like the thing that I used to love most in the Tesla is when I was in traffic and putting on the autopilot, world class. Like you're never thinking about, man, like start and stopping. Like I would just kind of hit it and kind of, be zoned out a little bit, looking at the people around me in the cars, like people watching. People would be like digging in their noses and stuff, and they don't know that I'm watching them. And I thought that that was fun. But yeah, I do wonder though, you know, I think the tire thing is going to be, there's going to be a lot of, you're going to be blowing through tires probably, but if you're saving in every other aspect of the vehicle, like I don't understand why this won't be a spectacular thing. And I think that, this company coming into the market, raising more money, I think there's a Chinese startup that's entering our market also here in the States that's going to start production. And so the more electric semi truck manufacturers we have, the more production of these things is going to be. It's really just over time going to drive the cost down and make a better product really for the industry at large. So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
What else we got here? A lot of AI news, man. Into trucking, finally, That means a lot of startups are working on solving a lot of problems with the logistics walls, which is nice to see.
Yeah, the Voyas. Hold on, what is that? They're talking about the what was that number two? Smart charging. Oh, I think actually the okay, I think the interesting thing would be where's the power gonna come from? Can the grid handle it? I think when we think about, and this is really gonna be for everything, like you think about the AI ramp that's gonna happen, they're gonna build all these data centers. Luckily, the Trump administration they're fast tracking the centers next to energy production for the most part. And so hopefully it's not going to be too much of a burden on a lot of these grids. But when you think about the trucks and the amount of energy that they're going to be consuming, imagine if 25% of the trucks in the Oakland market were electric vehicles, like what that would do to the grid up there, right? And charging at peak times, right? And what that would mean. So I also think that on one level, we're going to see the grids are going to have to get upgraded. And I think there's a lot of interesting companies that are probably working on that solution.
Yeah.
But also, if they don't get upgraded, that might actually be the limiting factor for why electric vehicles, electric semis in particular, don't end up working out because there's just not going to be enough
Yeah.
energy around to make these things happen.
So, the Forum Mobility, that the meeting that we have with Tesla,
Uh-huh.
guys are building two plants, one in Oakland, one in Livermore, right? As soon as the Tesla charging stations go live and Forum Mobility and probably a few other companies, we will see some negative effects then, because if that starts affecting the public, I'm sure they'll pull the plug on a lot of these companies. But they're gonna have to figure something out. If they go live and they're charging all these trucks on the road, what is that gonna do? So that's a good point that you brought up. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think that California doesn't care about people. California doesn't care about
Maybe
people.
that's why they're like, get out of here. But
Yeah, like,
other interesting news this week, I was like really digging deep into, remember that the wave that happened with Austin, like people moving to Texas and everything. The main factor people started returning back to California was they just couldn't handle the heat, bro. I know you're in Texas, so talk to us just briefly about, is that true that people
well, we're doing an expansion here to Texas, and so I'm building the groundwork with customers here and setting up infrastructure. It's hot, but it's not so hot. Like I lived in the San Fernando Valley outside of Los Angeles in a suburb called Calabasas, and it was routinely 100 degrees in the summertime in the valley in LA. So coming here and it's like 95 at 100, to me there's not that much of a difference. The big thing is there's a lot of rain in the summertime here, strangely. And so since I've been here, it's probably rained like, let's say I've been here for almost 30 days. Like we've had 7 days of rain. But it happens in the morning. It'll just be a deluge of rain in the morning, and then the sun comes out, and then it becomes 95 degrees, and then it's just
are they playing the system like, they're making that rain come up, or is it actual?
now you're getting conspiratorial, which I love. They could be. They certainly could be. But what I will say, like, I was talking to my wife about this. I think that Texas is just governing better than California. Um, uh, in the business world, but also just in the way that they build their infrastructure, the way that they just build, period, right? I think that they're just governing better than California. We live in this in Frisco, Texas, and um, you know, it's kind of a newer suburb. It's probably been around for like, you know, we'll call it 15, 20 years. Like, you know, the house that we live in is probably like 10 years old, maybe. And frankly, the way that this community was set up, it's like incredibly family friendly, right? There's so many parks. There's like splash pads everywhere. There's like pools and stuff, and there's like pools for kids and pools for adults. And like, you know, it's just, it makes it a place where families want to live and where families can like raise a family, right? And I think the problem with California, and you know, I'm very like tapped into the real estate market. That I did a bunch of real estate stuff there. My wife was a realtor there. She's still helping people buy and sell houses there. Is the way that they build these communities in California is like the opposite. Like they're just maximizing for things that I don't think matter, that aren't gonna like bring a family and bring value to a family. And so I just think that fundamentally California is getting outgoverned right now. And if if you play this out over time, it's probably going to be, and I think it's already on some level starting to become like untenable to live in California if you have a family, because not just the cost of living, people talk about the cost of living, but it's also just safety. Like, you know, can you take your kids on a walk in the city without being accosted by like a homeless person or someone that's like on drugs on the sidewalk? You know, I could talk about many, many examples of like me and my wife with the kids, and there's just like weird stuff happening that was like, bro, I don't want my kids to see this. Like, this
For
is
sure.
not what I need.
Yeah,
So,
to that point, take your kids to park, people smoking weed there. Go to the gym,
100%.
you can smell. Like, to be honest, as a father, you don't want your kids to be growing up in that environment because we've seen what that stuff will do to people, man. But hey, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, man. California's getting outgoverned. They better figure it out or else it's going to be bad. I think New York is going to be in for for something similar. Like if this guy, what's his name? Honey ends up winning the mayoral race there and is able to do the stuff that he wants to do there. Yeah.
So my deep research has been completed. If you want to just briefly go over
Yeah,
that,
talk to us. Give us the deep research, the Gemini deep research on it.
over the years, we'll just stick to trucking, right? Like, and this probably goes for a lot of other industries, right? Like during COVID, before COVID, and now, right? Like, what has changed for every industry? So we were talking about repairs and the parts and the inflation, whatever, right? The whole. So I won't bore you to details, but if you look at some of these numbers here, so this is engine parts, in 2000, it was like $90 and stuff, and then us, whatever. Yeah, the small things add up, right? So we'll kind of scroll to number 3 here. So the steel price, 2017, it was like, 30 something, and now it's 42. Aluminum price, rubber price, that kind of shows you year over year, things have been, uh, these things add up, and where we're buying these truck parts, all of these, if you're tracking these prices of steel, aluminum, rubber, you can kind of get a sense on why truck parts and everything has been rising, or the truck prices overall, right?
Uh-huh.
Because before COVID, the trucks, I remember we got trucks for like 140,000 dollars, right? Which was, and now it's like close to 200,000, right? So that's a big gap, right?
Yeah.
So let me see if there's anything else. Fuel prices, I mean, 260 and now it's like 350, that's like $1 right there, Fuel's a big one. Some people. I mean, yeah, but that's deep research, man. Within 5 minutes, bro. Look at that. Able to scan hundreds of websites and give us what we're looking for, which is, hey, awesome.
Yeah, no. I love AI. You know how I feel about AI. I'm like absolutely in love with it. It's the thing I'm using most of my day, all of my day. I'm working with AI.
Any business owner or any staff, we encourage our team to use it to
Yeah.
be 10 times more productive. Because if you create a lot of value, yeah, you're gonna have a decent career and you can make a lot of money.
So, and in, you know, just what you're capable of doing with it now, I think, and and it's and it's incrementally over time just getting way more useful. Like I think the thing that people got caught up in is they assume that ChatGPT, the ChatGPT moment for AI, that was going to be it, where it was just going to be this thing that would just give you outputs like and I'd be a chatbot forever, right? But now we see that it's a thing that you can do automations with. It's a thing that you can use to like go off and do autonomous work and research and come and bring that stuff back to you. It's a thing that you can do. Like it's been helping me a lot with my outreach to customers here, like going and doing the like very hardcore like sales development research, right?
Taking you like weeks, you can do it in hours.
100%, right? And so let's say if I had 500 companies, right, that I was like, I, let's see what this is going to look like, and these are the industries, and then it's like, yeah, it helps to tailor the outreach not just to the industry but also like the pain points of the industry. It helps me understand like what are they going through right now, right? Like what are the pain points for the industry at large typically, and then what are they going through right now with like what's happening in the world, and then like what are their, what is the company's goals, right? And it like helps to tailor messages to that, like very specifically, very succinctly, where, like I'm sure you get a lot of outreach from people that are trying to sell shit, right? And so my email is inundated with people that are like sending these kind of vague emails, right? And I often, like, whenever I get a great email that's like, these people know what's going on. They actually know what we're going through in our business. I always hit them back, like, hey, bro, I don't like need this right now, but like hit me up in the future, because I appreciate that you did the work and the research to actually understand how you could truly add value. So it's like, yeah, let's have a quick chat. And like, I don't need the thing now, but like stay in touch with me, right? And that's B2B sales, right?
That's crazy, man. The amount of calls, the emails, the messages on LinkedIn with these salespeople we're getting, like they're trying to always sell you something. But a lot of people that are smart are being really creative on how they pitch you. They provide a lot of value to you, then they sell,
Yes.
which I love, man.
Yes.
That is next level. People that really like try to give you, whatever problem they already know, and how to get in with you to how to sell you. But yeah, though that's like a master class for another day that we should share with our potential vendors. Like, hey, provide a lot of value to your customers, and then or at least try to listen to them, what the problems that they can solve. Yeah.
100%. And the interesting thing to me, you talk about value. It's like a lot of my outreach this week, right, was super value specific, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
and we'll take some of this stuff out because I don't want to give motherfuckers the whole playbook, Alicia. But literally, I would do this deep research, right? For like, what's all the news that's happening? Because I read a lot of the news, but like, I can't catch everything, right? So, what's all the news that's happening? And then I use agent mode to take all the conceptual news, and there's 100 articles that it just read, so it's got a lot of context. And then I feed it a document that has all the companies and what industry they're in, and then it's like, so how does the news affect each of these companies and what they're going through right now, right? And then I just send them an update, right? Like, hey, in my reading this morning, I saw that you guys are dealing with this, right? Like, here's some interesting things that could be coming for you. And it's not even a sell thing. It's just like, hey, here's some shit that you could be dealing with in the next couple of days. There was some stuff around like they were changing how they're classifying LTL stuff was like a big one for a lot of customers, right? Obviously, the tariff stuff is ongoing, but like to your point, just providing value. So like I sent out 100 super valuable emails to people this week that are like, yeah, here's some shit that's happening that's like really gonna affect you, right? And yeah, right. And I've been getting very decent, like, and I've done like,
Just imagine
oh,
people do that. Not very many.
I would probably not that, none at all, right? Like unless you're like at the highest level of sales, right? Of outbound outreach, you're probably not doing that because it's too hard and it feels like there's too much work that you need to do. Like if you're trying to, you close one of these customers, like that's hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars of revenue, right? And so it's like you mean you're not willing to go that extra mile to figure out what their problems are and actually try to solve their problem and talk to them about their problem, right? Which is why I said earlier, like the thing that's interesting to me and why I literally always, when someone markets to me well in the email, I always reach back out to them. Hey, don't need this shit right now, but like keep in touch, right? Because I know that you're at least good at your job.
Yeah.
You at least you're gonna do a good service because your outreach was good, right? And so it's kind of been a similar thing there where it's like, I'm outreaching to people. I'm super contextual. I'm adding like insane amounts of value. And then it's like some people, it's like instant, right? Like the dude from Drink Pack, right? Where it's like I sent him 2 emails and then we talked on LinkedIn and he's like, yeah, bro, let's chat. Like, here's what we got going on. Like he's like, yeah, we don't need warehousing. We don't need that, but like we could maybe jam on some Dre stuff. And it's like, cool, bro, right? Cool, right? So yeah, bro, like the AI stuff is gonna revolutionize the way that really everyone works and it's going to make it so that everyone can be world class if you want to be like if you're not going to learn how to do this stuff then it's not going to work for you
Yeah.
and you're going to get left in the dust by all the people who are using AI. Imagine all the people who are like sending the copy paste email right now, right, into your inbox, right, and you're just scrolling past it. You're like, nah, like the subject line isn't interesting, right? The email is too long, right? It's like, no, interesting subject line, 6 sentences, right, that are broken up so you could scan it very easily and understand, right? And these are all things that I just learned from doing the thing and then also freaking from AI. So yeah, it's a spectacular time to be alive. And again, I could talk about AI all day. This is my passion in life right now. But let's move on.
Sure. We'll kind of run through some of these the points that Alicia had. Uh,
Yeah, roll through them.
Feel free to always come in and you know.
Yeah, keep us on track.
So the grade we already talked about that. Brokers and shippers, would you pay more for a zero freight emission, or is it all about the lowest rate? So that's a pretty interesting one because right now, as it looks like, yeah, they're not gonna pay more. Government or some rules and regulations change that they're set aside some of these contracts for EV fleets, right? Because they have to, right? How are you gonna, the cost for insurance is a big one for these trucks. And it runs the fleet. What happens to dispatchers? Are jobs at risk or just changing human impact angle less? Yeah, all right. So I think we should talk about this briefly. AI, again, somebody that's using AI is going to be a lot more valuable than a dispatcher that's not using AI. So there's a lot of AI tools that day-to-day dispatchers should be using to make their lives easier. Just like the AI Load Connect. I don't know what that app's called, but right away you could send hundreds of emails to like thousands of loads that are posted. So that's just one, but there's probably many other ones. But do you have any take there?
Well, again, in the short term, if you're using AI, you're just going to be way better at your job, right? So you're going to be better at whatever your job, whatever your role is than the person who's not using AI because you're going to be more efficient. You're going to be better at it, right? Than the person who's not, frankly. Now, in the long term, these systems are going to get more autonomous and maybe you're going to have fewer dispatchers to do things, right? And we don't really know what's going to come of that. But I certainly do think in the short term, people who use AI are probably in a very safe place in the job market. Like if someone comes to me and is very good, and they're using AI all the time, that makes me happy, right? Like like I would almost pay a premium for somebody that is doing that because now I know that they can do more, right? They're doing more than the average person, right? And I think that as we're moving forward here, we'll say in the short term, the next 2 to 3 years, right? Like those people are going to be able to fetch a premium in the marketplace, and then they're going to help these companies, right? Like imagine if you're the AI native person at your company and you help build the systems that your company is going to eventually run on. Like you think you're going to get fired, or you think you're going to be the person who manages those systems now at a higher salary, right? So, I think it's always contextual. If you are an entry level employee that's not adding much value, and like your whole thing was like, I'm answering emails and shit, then maybe you're going to be a little bit more uh, in the crosshairs there. But if you are someone who figures out how to use AI to answer those emails and then help the company create processes around these things, then you are, I would say, going to be in a very strong position, not just at your company, but like in the job market in general, because you're just going to understand where the market is, right? Like there's nothing worse than someone who doesn't, who like doesn't have the skills and then doesn't have the like technical knowledge for where the world is going. So like imagine it's 2011 or something, right? And you're not using whatever the systems and tools are that are necessary for you to succeed there. Imagine it's 2007 and like you're not sending emails, you're still faxing, right? Like these things are it's just the way that progress works, right? So in the short term, are jobs at risk? No, I think they're just changing. In the long term, you know, jobs are at risk, but the people who make themselves invaluable using AI are gonna be around for a long time.
Yep. Next one, Trump kills Obama plan to limit big rig speed. So that's always been a
To that point though, do you think it would actually save lives, or is it just gonna get hurt drivers that get paid by the mile?
I mean, most of the bigger fleets, they govern their trucks at 65 to 68. Our trucks are about 70. But yeah, there's fleets out there that are speeding 75 to 80. Those are dangerous. Definitely think, yeah. I mean, at that point, the companies should be responsible to govern their trucks maximum at 70. Usually you want to do like 70, pedal and then 72 cruise or something like that, right? But if your trucks are open, then the drivers can speed up to 75 and 80. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
So those, yeah,
If you hit something in a semi, or if something happens and you're going 80 miles an hour in a semi, like people are definitely gonna die, right? And it may be a mass casualty kind of an event. So yeah, I think it's safer. I, f- you know, Also, I think as we move forward and technology just gets better, like, imagine as people are going to be using these tools, the trucks are going to be semi-autonomous and then autonomous. Like, you mean a driver's, imagine if you're a driver and now all your over the road miles are on autopilot, right? Like, are you gonna be mad at that if you're a driver and you're not really driving as much anymore? You're only really driving inside the city to kind of get the load where it needs to be, and then everything, the 100 miles or 500 miles that you drive over the road now become like you're sitting on your couch, right?
and just the Tesla cars are much more safer. I suppose Tesla trucks will be a lot more safer than because a lot of times there's fender benders happening, and then drivers are distracted and stuff like that, right? So a lot of that will go away, which is again technology. With technology, your lifestyle does get better, right?
I agree. Would you, if because you've been in a truck before, Tal, so like, would you rather be governed at 65, or do you want to keep your freedom there?
Depends, right? If you're only driving in California, sure, 65 is not a problem, right? Because speed limit is 55, you can go to 60s, whatever, right? So if you're driving cross country, that is a big challenge, right? Like if you had to go west to east coast and back, right? You wouldn't want to be driving at 65. So definitely, then I would not be driving cross country. To be honest,
Yeah,
would be like want to stay local, because that could save you half a day or something, maybe a day, depending on, right, depending on your logbook and stuff, right.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes to the last point we had here, which is like, do safety tech advances solve the problem better than like putting caps on things, right? So it's like, does it matter so much how fast the truck's going if it's autonomous or semi-autonomous and it's not a distracted truck driver, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a very interesting kind of thought experiment because to your point, a lot of the accidents are fender benders, the things that are happening with a distracted driver, like in traffic maybe, or in kind of an environment where, you know, um, where it could have been avoided. And I think that, certainly most of these EVs are going to have that, like, we'll call it like that, semi-autonomous kind of cruise mode where they can just, let the truck guide itself and then, and then they take it to the final destination. I think about it like when you get on a plane, right? Like the pilot's not flying the plane the whole time, right?
Yeah.
You get on a plane, the pilot takes off, gets to altitude, puts it on autopilot. They
Yeah.
get to the destination, they take back over, they land the plane, right? And it's probably going to be something very similar in our industry, I would assume, for as these things roll out and then for the foreseeable future. We're probably like 10 years away from like, you know, trucks being able to take it all the way into the city and drop the load and back on in and do the whole thing, right? Like we're probably 10 years away from that, but we're much closer to the airline autopilot kind of example.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
All right, Alicia. Any other questions that somebody might have? If not, Alicia. Yeah, yeah.
Spectacular. Tal, you got anything in closing here? What's on your mind? What are we thinking about? What's Tal Singh focused on?
With the whole AI, I just completed a course at Stanford online, which was pretty interesting to learn about. A lot of papers that you like to read, and I appreciate you always sharing those with me. So, guys, keep on learning, especially with this whole AI wave. We want to encourage not only our staff but people out there, start learning about AI, and this whole technology wave is gonna, definitely take us somewhere with this whole AI infrastructure is being built. You can kind of already see the wave of, where we're headed. So, yeah, you could call us the AI experts in the logistics world, and we can do all of your AI warehousing, trucking needs. Hey guys, reach out to us.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And yeah, I think that's good there. So, but the 5, 4. So, that was another episode of Shift Happens. And that was another episode of Shift Happens. Appreciate you guys coming in. Myself, Darian Weems, CEO of JNSJH.
Tell us, in, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. We'd love to hear some more feedback from you guys. To get you guys more better content. All right. Hope this. All right. Take care. Have a nice weekend.
Toodles. Okay, see you guys in the meeting here in a second.